What's going on, everyone? This is Sherry, and you are tuning in to the She Said What She Said podcast. We have a great week for you. We had a network brunch over the weekend down in Tilly's, one of our sponsors down in Calumet City. So got to hang out with some of the people from the network, got to meet a couple of our folks in person and got some swag. Got my little drink cup. I got a little peach mango. Brought it to a girlfriend's house. Forgot she was allergic to mango, so tried to kill my best friend. Sorry, Alexis. Have a shirt too, but didn't wear it today because you guys, Penn State is in the house this week, and you will get to see why. Another thing that I did, on Sunday night, instead of going to bed at about 10 o'clock, I was like, we need to get the Instagram page set up. So at 10:30 Sunday night, I created the Instagram page. Let me put this in the chat for you guys. All right, She Said What She Said. She said what? It's a mouthful, right? What she said. Nope, spelled it wrong. Podcast, and that is our IG page. So you should see it right here. I have 2 posts up right now, but I'll be putting more stuff on it. When we start doing some adventures, I'll be going live, making some stories, and really keeping up with some of the friends of our pod. Some of our ex-guests, they are doing some pretty awesome things. Speaking of things going on, our girl B, my normal co-host, we forgot to tell you guys that she's still with us, but she cannot be here every week due to the Chicago Blitz season. She is out there catching some football. She'll be tackling some bitches, just the way she does it. So during her season, we are going to have a couple of guest hosts joining us. So B will be on once or twice a month. I know she's doing the last Wednesday of the month, but one of our special guest hosts who will be coming on regularly. You guys have already met her, but the legendary NCAA 400 meter champion and 2012 Olympic 400 meter semi-finalist, Miss Shana Cox. Hey!
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Shana, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I know. I was like, well, Shana can do this,
I had such a great time last time. It was amazing. After I was done, I was like, if they ever want me to come back, I will jump at it.
Which you texted me too, and so I was like, oh, I need some. Let me hit up Miss Shana.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And so here you are, and you are also rocking.
I'm rocking my Penn State today. I feel like this is like an original shirt.
That is. They used to give us that shirt every year in white, gray, and blue.
Blue. Yep.
So every single year we got 3 of them times 4 or 5. So
they're a little softer now. They were a little hard before. They're a little softer now. So
yeah, this is actually one that I purchased. I have gotten to that point where I'm 15 years out of college, so I'm actually purchasing Penn State apparel now because it's getting a little. But yeah, so our guest today also is going to be rocking this, right?
Yes, there's a full-on reunion in here.
It is. And so to give you guys a little background or just a quick little tidbit. So our guest, I'll bring it on in a sec, Miss Maggie Redden. She is like, when I started this podcast, like, no offense, Shana, I actually asked Maggie about being on before you.
Not taken.
Okay, because she couldn't do till January, but she was like my first, because when I think of women that are just badass, just doing incredible things, she is someone that has been inspiring me since I first, met her in Happy Valley. And so she is a 2008 Paralympian. She is a disability advocate, and she's also now an amateur photographer, which is it's just a fun tidbit. And so let's bring her in. Hello, Maggie.
Hi. Hi, guys. How are you? Love the
Good,
shirt.
good. Make sure you
I
show.
also had to purchase this because my original gear is getting pretty worn out these days. I do have some original items, but you don't want to see those.
I still
I
have my
still have them
uniform.
though.
I
still have my.
I almost wore it. I was like, should I wear this? I was like, no.
I think we're all the same. Are we all like about 15 years out? I think so. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I came out in
close.
06. Maggie,
I'm 07.
You say you weren't 1 year after me, and Shana, you were.
I was done with eligibility 2008.
Right, because and you had to do the 5th year because you got injured, of course, right away.
Yes. In true Shana fashion, and stayed injured, but.
But yeah, so we were all together. You know what? Shana was like, "Oh well, I don't know if Maggie will remember me." I was like,
"Oh yeah,
you were on the television in the Olympics."
No,
so
I know, but like I always when I think about Maggie, I think about watching her train, and like we would all like sit there and watch her, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like when she came into the building, it was like Maggie's here, everybody back up, and and we just watched a beast go to work. Really, it was great.
Absolutely.
And likewise with you. I mean, this is all we're all just, I don't know, powerful, empowered women. It all started on that track.
Yes, that outdoor track where when the wind blew a certain way, we could smell the cows.
I remember.
Yeah. So Maggie, let's start with your track career first. Well, let's back it up because I know you have been very open. Sorry, my pets are playing behind me. Hi, Nala. The cat just ran behind, and so the dog is like, "Oh, hi." She's not as graceful. But you've been very open about your early childhood. Coming over to the States and all that. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, so I was adopted from India when I was 2.5 years old after having contracted polio as a baby, and polio left me paralyzed from the waist down. So I use a manual wheelchair as part of my everyday life. It's an extension of myself. My wheelchair is part of me. It's part of my identity. It's not something I'm ashamed about or try to hide. If anybody ever has any questions, I'd rather they always just ask me. And I always think of that as like a learning moment and a teaching moment for people. So yeah, I was adopted when I was 2.5, and that kind of is also the beginning of my athletics career because right away I was enrolled in a preschool for when I was 3 and 4 that was specifically for children with disabilities. This was the late 80s, so it was right before the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I did go to a preschool for kids with disabilities, but that is actually where I was introduced to sports, and I was very active, and I like to participate in whatever was introduced to me. And in my little manual wheelchair, they put me on a track, and I loved it, and I tried a lot of other sports, and sports just kind of stuck with me, and that was really where it all began in preschool.
Wow. Okay.
At that age, obviously, it was just for fun, but it was something that I really liked and I could excel at later on in life. So.
And when did you first start competing in track?
So after I finished preschool, this was 1990. So that was when the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law. So when I started kindergarten, they called it mainstream. I went to a school that was really for anybody. And at that time, I was the only person at my school with a visible disability, with a physical disability. But that's also when my mom found a sports team for junior athletics. And so I started competing right at like 5 years old
Oh, okay.
at little local meets. And then as I progressed throughout grade school and high school, competed at regional meets and national meets. There was regional competitions where we were talking earlier, and sports groups from.
That's where you met your husband.
Where I met my husband. But yeah, so I started small, but I would compete locally, then regionally. There were national competitions every year that I competed at. I did join my high school track team, and unfortunately, I was for high school sports. I again was the only person with a disability with a racing chair. So I was part of the team. I trained with the team, but when it came to competitions at the meets, I was often racing in my own races because they wouldn't allow me to actually compete against the runners. And there were a lot of different reasons for that, including safety. So it was what it was at the time. But it was really when I got to college that making the Paralympic team was really a goal of mine. Really throughout my whole career, I wanted to compete at the Paralympics, but college was when I really buckled down and started training and knew that this was really a goal of mine.
Absolutely. And so did you only do track competitively, or did you try some other sports as well, as far as going to regional meets, state meets, I guess games would be the correct term for other sports?
I tried pretty much every sport that there was possible.
So what type of sports at that time? Because we're talking 1990, right? So which were our options for wheelchair sports?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sports that you probably tried, I've also tried: tennis, basketball, swimming. I've tried archery. I competed in archery.
Nice.
I was a ski instructor at the adaptive sports program in Wyndham. So yeah, I've tried a lot. The one that stuck was track.
Obviously.
So that's where I really started to focus on in high school, and then obviously at Penn State during college. That's really what I did.
Wow.
Absolutely. So what brought you to, I know Shana's children are trying to get mom's attention.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I saw him come on in hi, Mom, I'm here. But what brought you to Penn State? Was it, we have a great coach there. Was it the coach? Or did she bring you to Penn State? How do you guys link up?
It was a combination of many different things. Oh, I see your cat. I don't know where my cat is. My cat's probably wandering around somewhere too.
It's a zoo today.
So, when I was looking at colleges, obviously I wanted someplace with wheelchair athletics. And for a lot of wheelchair athletes, and especially depending on what sport you're playing, there's really only a handful of schools that provide that. Now, track is you're part of a team, but it's also very individualized. So I could have potentially done track at a lot of different places, but as a team, if you're basketball and track, the best schools for that wheelchair athletics would be University of Illinois, University of Arizona. There's really only a few that provide high level wheelchair athletics. I didn't go there. I wanted a school that also offered me the big university vibe feel. I went to a very small high school, so I wanted a different college experience. I also wanted the freedom to do other things, because I did look at all those schools that provided very competitive wheelchair athletics, and there was just something for me, not that it wasn't great for other people, but for me, I wanted to have the full college experience. If I had gone to those schools, it would have been track 24/7. And I knew, just because of who I am, I wanted to be able to join a service sorority or go be part of the Mission Mexico group that went to Tijuana over spring break. I also
Nice.
participated in Thon for a couple of years as a moraler. So
Wow.
going to Penn State, I still had the athletics, but I had the opportunity to do other things. And then, of course, Penn State did have and does have the ability athletics program, which is adaptive sports, and had a great coach, Terry Jordan. And she did kind of recruit me at some of the regional and national meets because at that time I was still on the junior level team. So she was at some of those national competitions. So she saw me there and was like, "Hey, come to Penn State." So I did.
That is fantastic. And Tara is awesome. She
is.
She is.
She's so positive, and I feel like she always had positive things to say when I saw her. Just a really,
And what I really liked about her is she also encouraged doing other things well at Penn State. Yes, she knew my goals athletically, but she also wanted, the academics were very important, and just the opportunity to experience college life.
Is Terry still coaching? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, sorry.
She is not, and she moved down to Florida. I think she had a lot of different personal things. Yeah. And so she's not at Penn State anymore.
Enjoying the retired life.
Enjoying life down in Florida.
And the sun, because we didn't get much heat in Penn State College.
Yeah. So. Although snow, and the track was like as far as possible, the other end of campus.
From everything, it was far from everything.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going to say that, just kind of doing my research and just seeing what you've been up to and all that stuff, I could see how, Penn State could be a place that, you were attracted to, offering those other little pieces outside of just being, you go wake up and you go train, go home. You're involved in so many things. You've been involved in so many things since that time. So it's always important if you're going to be an organization, institution, a college to, find something that kind of addresses your wants, right, and your needs.
Yeah, and I always felt like, it's a huge university, but if you find your group of people, if you find things to get involved with, you're fine. You have your tribe, your support system. It's there.
And so you go ahead, Shana.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I know you obviously spent a lot of time training. So, but what were some of the things that you were really passionate about while you were there that kind of kept you balanced?
I was very passionate about academics first and foremost.
What did you major in?
Communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom, I think she's watching. So hi, Mom. Just very academics have always been very important. So that didn't change, just me going off to college. But also service. I joined the service organization and sorority, Gamma Sigma Sigma. And I also joined through the Pascarilla Center. They had a group called Mission Mexico that we met throughout the year, but the big thing was going to Tijuana, Mexico, and working on a service project over spring break. So that also became some of my closest friends from that trip as well. And of course, Thon. I was a moraler for 2 years.
Can you explain for the non-Penn Staters out there what Thon is? Because people are like, what? What is this?
Yeah, so Penn State Dance Marathon, Thon for short, is is it still 48 hours? It might have changed.
I think
46 hours.
I think it's still the whole weekend.
2 straight days that dancers, I think over 700 dancers are on their feet dancing to raise funds for the Four Diamonds Fund, which is out of Hershey Medical Center and research for pediatric cancer to find a cure for pediatric cancer. So yeah, it's a great cause. It's something that I was really interested right from the get-go, but I wasn't sure like if I could balance it all. So then my junior and senior year, I was like, okay, I can do this. And I was a moraler, which is the most fun thing apart from, I never was a dancer, but moraler was.
What does the moraler do?
So the moraler is paired with a dancer, and you basically morale them. You're there with them, you bring them presents, any requests that they have, even just like rubbing their feet and keeping them motivated, and pretty much anything that they need or want, or you can do for them that entire weekend. You're their person.
Nice.
So yeah.
And Thon is the largest student-ran philanthropy event, I believe. And oh my goodness, my pets just do that all the time.
Dancer behind you.
I mean, yeah,
like Jesus. I'm just trying to say, Thon is I believe it's still the largest student-ran event for any college in the country. I mean, they raise so much money. So it really is a big. I know for the track team, we would go visit there. Sometimes just even being there for like an hour, you're like, whoa. Yeah, I'm tired.
So for 48 hours, I mean, I could not imagine. And it's for a great cause. So
yeah, I think
absolutely.
When I was there, and it's only grown, but even the years I did it, they raised like over $10 million just in 1 year. So
wow.
Yeah, that's I actually did not know that you were involved in that. And that's great to hear. So I would look at the list of the top party schools, and that was like, oh, that's where I want to go to school.
That's how you picked
top party schools, top jock schools. I apologize, Mom.
Penn State makes those lists too.
But there's a lot. There's something for everyone at Penn State. Like whatever you do at Penn State, you go all in. So if you're doing service, you are doing all in. If you're doing partying, some people went all in for that as well.
They did. That was their major.
Yeah, they did not quite make it out alive. Well, physically alive, but maybe not with a degree. So moving on to the Paralympics, tell us a little bit about qualifying, how that works, and that adventure.
Yeah, so I graduated Penn State in 2007, and my goal was the 2008 Paralympics. So what happened is I actually got a job as a staff assistant in the athletic communications department at Penn State. And that enabled me to stay at the university, train with Terry and the team. And I had the facilities were there, the coaches were there. So that was really like the best thing that could have happened at that time to reach my goal. And so, yeah, I started balancing training with a job. From 2007 to I stayed at Penn State through December 2011. But
wow.
But yeah, I mean, after 4 years of training at Penn State, and then the additional year between 2007 and 2008, I was still there training. And it's very similar to the Olympics. You have trials, you have standards, A and B standards. You have the times, the qualifying times, and yeah, if you meet those standards or a percentage of those standards at trials, it's kind of like a wait and see. Did you do good enough to make the team? And I did. In 2008, I made the Paralympic team for Beijing in the 100 and 200 meter sprints. I was a sprinter. Funny story, all through junior athletics, I did all the way up to 5,000 on the track. And,
shit.
But they were not for me. They were not fun for me. And so when I got to Penn State, I was able to really focus on the sprints, which I was much happier about.
I remember you doing the 200.
Yeah.
That was your.
The 200 was my best.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100, because when you're in a racing chair, it's really the inertia to get started. By the time you're up to speed, the 100 meters
It's
over.
over.
Right. Yeah.
So 200 was my favorite. And just this is really a side note, but the 800 meter mark is, if you had like Shana and myself competing in an 800 meter, the 800 meter mark is where a wheelchair racer, an elite wheelchair racer, and an elite runner, the wheelchair racer will probably be faster just because they can sustain the top
for a longer
speed.
period of time. Wow.
But the sprint, a runner can get up to top speed so much faster. So it takes almost 800 meters to get up to like full speed. So I got off topic, but
so what you're saying is you want to do a race with Shana.
I mean, maybe
over 800
years ago.
I can say you would beat me. I know.
But 800 meters,
especially the 800,
definitely not my. The 800 was tricky. It's not a sprint, but they were trying to make it seem like it's a sprint.
It is. It's getting faster.
Yeah.
Ask Coach Johnson, and he'll tell you it's a sprint.
It's a sprint, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is like, it was torture.
I did want to ask you because, Olympic
stadium. The fans do want to see the 800 meter race between you guys.
I'm gonna have to start training because that could look pretty bad right now.
Sorry, Shana, what were you saying before I started looking at the comments?
I was going to say that the Olympic stadiums are always like amazing. But I feel like in our time, at least, like the Bird's Nest has been like one of the most like iconic Olympic stadiums architecturally. So do you remember what it was like walking in there the first time? It was probably before you competed, I'm guessing. But do you remember what it was like, just kind of getting in there the first time and like really just being able to like look around and see, like take it all in?
So it's really funny because yes, I like remember what that Bird's Nest. I think everybody remembers, even not being there, everybody remembers what that
absolutely
was like. I remember being like overwhelmed actually, because when you're doing your warm-ups and your practice, you don't actually, at least I didn't warm up in the Bird's Nest Stadium.
Right.
They had like a side track.
Right.
So,
yep.
So it was like go time, and that was really the first time that I was. I mean, for the opening ceremonies, I walked in the Bird's Nest, and that was amazing. The stadium was packed. It was overwhelming. It was exciting. It was all the emotions, like all in one. But when it came to like competing, I didn't actually get to like be on that track to practice any time or like warm up. It was all on the practice track. So like,
so you didn't even do like a walkthrough in it? It was just,
we didn't. No, it was, you lined up for your race in that stadium, and it was like go time. So I remember, it's kind of funny because I guess in the moment, even though it was packed and there was noise all around, you kind of just tune it all out and you're really, really focused. So I remember the opening ceremonies, amazing, thrilling, also overwhelming. But I also remember like stepping on that track for competition, and yeah, it was, and the 100 meters, because I competed in the 100 and 200. Where like I trained for like 15 years and did all this, and the race is over in like seconds.
Yeah. Right.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost have to like really take time out to and be intentional anyway about like taking it in, because you don't know when or if you'll be back again. Even if you have more than one race, the race that you're running could be your last one. So.
Yeah, and I had the 100 and 200, and I didn't advance. So those two were like my two races, and yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I do remember like being excited, being overwhelmed, being scared, just like all the emotions, and then of course trying to like focus on the race. So.
And did you guys stay in Beijing a little bit afterwards? Did you have a chance to do some of the touristy stuff?
Yeah, so for the Paralympics, they actually took the track and field team and the swimming team flew over to Okinawa, the Kadena Air Force Base.
Oh.
We had a couple days in Colorado Springs for team processing.
Okay.
We got all the nice, all the gear, the fun stuff.
Right.
Then we flew to Kadena Air Force Base for about a week and a half, and got to train there, got acclimated to the time change and the weather. It was also really cool because that was an Air Force base, and all the athletes were paired with service members.
Oh,
and
really?
They were kind of like our buddy for the week, and they would bring us food, and they took us out on the island, and we kind of did some touristy things. And so it was really, really fun training camp ahead of the games. And then we flew to Beijing for about 2 weeks. But then when your competition, I was able to stay because my competition was pretty close to the end, because track's always the second. Track's always at the end. So I got to stay for closing ceremonies as well. But some people started to go home after their competitions were done. But yeah, so that whole trip, the whole Paralympic trip, was about a month of travel.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool, but we did get to go out of the athlete village and do some touring, and my mom was able to come over.
Oh, yay.
I always think she booked. Hi, Mom. Because the athletes get all their travel from the Olympic Committee, so I didn't have my ticket until pretty close to time to leave. But my mom was fully booked and had all the reservations and tickets the minute I told her that I had
Proud
made the
mama.
team.
Yes. So. Oh, I mean, I would have as well. I mean,
so
that's amazing. It's an amazing experience. What would be, if you had one emotion, one takeaway, one kind of memory from the Olympics, what would that be for you?
I would just say maybe life-changing, just because the whole experience, not just the competition part, but everything from trials to making the team to team processing to training camp to the touring and just being in Beijing and seeing all the fans, and just life-changing.
Mom came on in. Trisha Redden, your mom simply told her dean that she was going to Beijing, not up for a debate. Spoken like a true mama bear. She was like, "You're going to fire me, you're going to fire me. I'm going to Beijing." Oh, that is.
Speaking of your mom, I've just in doing some of my research, I've read a lot. You talk about her a lot. And how you learned about resilience and independence from her. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Mama Redden, Patricia Redden, she is a single mom. She adopted not only myself from India when I was 2.5. I have a younger sister, Maria. I'm not sure if she's on, but hello, Maria, if you're on as well. And Maria is also adopted with a disability from India. So she's a single parent with 2 adopted kids. She's a college professor and of all things chemistry.
Wow, so smart.
So she is, now you can understand why I was academics was always very important.
Yeah, I can see that.
So she's just a strong, empowered woman that she had to pave the way a lot of the time when she was going through school, and she just does it all now. She's she's still, because my sister and I were heavily involved in adaptive sports, and she needed something to do while we were competing. She volunteered and became an official at some of the a lot of the sporting events that that we were competing in, and she still does that to this day, even though neither of us are competing.
The commitment.
I know. And not only that, she also raises service dogs, service puppies for canine companions, for independence. So you can see why I'm very, very proud of.
I'm proud of her too. Oh my God.
She is a strong woman who raised a strong woman.
I'm going to get her on here.
No, I was like,
hey, Mom, come on out here right now. And I'm sure you probably talked to her about this, what inspired her to not only adopt children as a single mom, but to adopt children with disabilities, as a single mom, to raise, like, what inspired her to go that route? Because it's not the easy route.
No, definitely not. And I think she knew she wanted to be a parent, and she always says, she never met Mr. Right, but that didn't mean that she couldn't be a parent, and she had the means to adopt children with disabilities. So she went for it, and at the time, this was the late 80s. India, of all places, was more receptive to single women. So that was a big factor in why specifically India. But she had the means to adopt kids that she knew, because right when I came home, I needed some surgeries and some healthcare things, and she had the means to do that. So she was okay with that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember I think it was from the last Olympics go around, there was like that Toyota commercial of that swimmer without the leg.
Jessica. Yeah.
I was in tears every time I saw it.
I was like, oh God, it's getting me again. It's like one of those, like, it gets you the first time and you're like, okay, I've seen it, now I won't cry. Every time I'm like, oh
no, yeah, literally.
Like, it won't be easy, but it'll be perfect. I was like, my heart. So that's pretty much your mom. Well, we love you, Mama Redden.
Yes.
That is.
Love you, Mom.
Yay.
And Maria and my sister. My sister is pretty amazing in her right as well. So she played wheelchair basketball.
Oh, okay.
At Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania as well.
Yep.
So, so pretty cool.
A little family of athletes there.
Sisters. My mom played basketball way back in the day as well. So,
okay.
So we're a family of sports women.
So did you play basketball at
a little bit? Penn State had like a little pickup group.
Oh, you did? Okay.
But that was not. That was more for fun.
That
was not my strong thing. It was fun, and it was more like a social group thing.
Yeah.
It was. It was just for fun, but that was really not my strong suit.
You should see me play basketball.
I had the speed from the track. I could get down the court very fast, but beyond that, not so great.
Right. It's like I could play defense. You want me to shoot the ball in the basket while the hand-eye coordination. We're track people here. This is not.
We move forward and backward.
No, we just move forward.
No side to side.
Counterclockwise oval. That is our one. We go one direction, guys. This is it. This is our strength. So transitioning, from your time in the Paralympics, you have really become a big disability advocate. I know you post a lot I know you've had some jobs in that field, but you've also posted a lot of things. And one thing I remember on Facebook, I don't even remember if I even commented, but I remember reading it and I was like, oh God, I'm an ableist asshole. It was an article about Planet Fitness and introducing weightlifting machines that were wheelchair accessible. And I had never thought about that before in my life. And ever since you brought that up, it is something now that I will never not think about.
Yeah. So after I guess I can say I'm retired. I never officially stated that, but I don't even own my racing chair anymore. So I guess it's true. I'm retired. So I needed to find something else to do. I'm sure you're both familiar, after athletics and and being in that world for so long, I kind of felt a little lost. And it took a while to kind of find my footing again.
Talked about that, yeah.
And so more recently, it still has like days are up and down trying to like figure out who I am. It's still a work in progress. But yeah, disability advocacy, just because of who I am and my background, has always been kind of in the forefront for me. And to your point, talking about coming from the athletics world, it wasn't so easy. I couldn't just go to a gym and be like, there wasn't really much machines I could use or anything really. And it was just more recently that Planet Fitness stated that they were going to start incorporating more like hand bikes and adaptive machines. And yeah, you don't think about those things, but unfortunately, but yeah. So I've always had to go to gyms where we'll either set up my home gym or like only specific gyms that I knew had like a hand bike, maybe one out of however many pieces of equipment. And that's always like a rare occasion. Now you're starting to see them a little more like specialized gyms, but it shouldn't have to be a specialized gym. It should just be, I can go to a Planet Fitness or wherever and use their equipment, but it's still not the case.
Yeah, that was a good one. That I just remembered because that article was like, that really, as a gym goer myself, as an athlete, that one particularly like hit the nail on the head for me. So it really made me think of like how many other things are there that I take for granted that just aren't inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even things, it's really funny because I come from New Jersey, right outside of New York. And my experience just using like the public transportation, it's horrendous up there. Like there's very little of the public transportation system that is deemed accessible. And what is deemed accessible isn't really user friendly. If you've ever been on the New York City subway, it's not really nice.
Got the Chicago thing. You have the the elevators that are broken,
or bathrooms are dark in a kind of shady corner that you shouldn't really go over there. But when I moved down to DC, this is where perspective comes in, that I think the DC Metro is so much better. All the stops have elevators. It's pretty clean. But it is newer and it's smaller.
Wide platforms.
And it's just really funny because I've said that to a couple people. I'm like, this system is pretty good. And they're like, this system is horrible. But I'm like, compared to New York City, I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but just things like just riding buses and the trains, it's all, there's
more
always
complicated.
It's more complicated.
Than it should be.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to look stuff up before you go somewhere to make sure.
I mean, I have an app on my phone, speaking, because it's not perfect, the DC system. I have an app on my phone that the stops that I most frequently use, I get notifications if the elevators are out.
Okay.
And there's a website that lists all the elevator outages. So, but I shouldn't, it's just an extra step that I feel like I need to plan out my trip and make sure the elevators are working and things like that.
Especially with the ADA, because that was the whole, to me, that was the whole purpose of it, was so you wouldn't have to
do that.
Yeah. So the thing with the ADA is if you find an issue, you have to like bring it forward. There's no real, like, not policing, but there's no real people that like enforce it. It's if you find an issue, you can bring it forward. So, I mean, there are things like new buildings are supposed to have there's like guidelines and
building code,
building codes and things like that. But a lot of the things is up to the person to kind of make a stink about it or bring it forward and get it addressed.
And I know it's probably exhausting.
It is.
How do you deal, because like Shana said, it can be exhausting, right? You're always, especially doing advocacy work for other people. How do you keep yourself centered, grounded, and not kind of spiraling into that, just, focusing on everything that needs to be fixed? Like how do you move forward with that?
Usually I just take a deep breath and I take it one step at a time. And I'm very grateful because, yes, I use a wheelchair and I have the, I guess it's the mobility issue, but there's really not a lot that I can't like figure out a way or find a workaround. So I'm grateful for that, but I know there's a lot of other people that's not an option for them. So if I find something, I try to bring it forward to make it easier for the next person. But yeah, I mean, perseverance, kind of deep breaths, one step at a time.
Yeah, can't just be yelling at everyone all day,
No.
or else you're going to become a very negative and stressed out person.
Yeah, and I mean that people don't appreciate when they get yelled at. So it's also like teaching opportunities, like I said earlier, that when these things come up, it's a learning opportunity. You can teach people a lot. So, and most of the time, I want to say most of the time people are pretty receptive to learning and hearing, especially if you're genuine in what you're saying. So
awesome. So transitioning off that as well, in your promo, we put you're an amateur photographer, but you're not just in photography. You guys do travel photography. So talk a little bit about photography, the blog that you and your husband have. Super fun.
Yeah, so this is another aspect of our disability advocacy, and it kind of started like everybody else during the pandemic. I was trying to figure out things to do, new hobbies, and we'd always liked traveling, and I'm always taking photos, even when it was just like my cell phone, and I still use my cell phone a lot. But our blog, Photos with a Spin, is really a combination of our photography, our travel, and we try to throw in a little bit about the wheelchair accessibility of our destinations. And so far we've been to Ireland, and we went on a wheelchair accessible safari tour in South Africa. That was in August of 2019. And then we got a little, the COVID happened. So we didn't do too much traveling. And we just kind of recently last year in the fall went to Yellowstone and Grand Teton. So we're trying to get back on our feet with the traveling, but it's been a little, sidelined. But we're going to really try and focus on our own little area a lot more, because there's so much right in the DC area that we can really write about and photograph and explore and get the information that we find out, at least from our perspective, about wheelchair accessibility. We can share that, and we have our website, and we're pretty active on our social media accounts. And yeah, it's just another avenue for us, not only to have like a creative outlet, but also do some advocacy work.
Absolutely.
And when did you initially get into photography? Like, was it just something you picked up one day? Was it something you kind of always been interested in? Was it like a pastime, just kind of keep you balanced with, track?
I got into photography. I've always loved taking photos since as long as I can remember. I got into more serious photography like 5 or 6 years ago. Again, it was me trying to like figure out trying to reinvent myself, trying to figure out new hobbies and things away from track that I really enjoyed and liked to do. And then it really did take off during the pandemic. We created our website during the pandemic, and we started all the social channels during the pandemic. And it was really just like a a passion project of ours that kind of stuck. And so, but it's an avenue for us to get outside and be active. And it's been great for our mental health and wellness. And I'm not as active as I used to be, but going out and exploring and going to the national parks, it's a form of activity. And we get to be outside and enjoy nature and and combine it with our photography.
And I think I spelled everything correct, right?
Yes.
I put up the I'm like trying to like type in while making active eye contact, and so that is their Instagram handle, Photos with a Spin, if anyone wants to check that out. That blog is awesome. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, and this is kind of the fun part. We talked a little bit before we started about your other half, how you guys met and how you guys rekindled your relationship. Just because I gave Shana, I had to go into her thing of how she connected with her husband. So tell us a little bit about that story, because it's really cute.
So Abe, my husband, and
Hi, Abe.
Actually, yeah, he might be watching from the other room. I'm not sure. We met when we were both kids in wheelchair sports. He's from Connecticut, and I grew up again in New Jersey. And we would always meet at those local like regional meets. And yeah, we were friends for the longest time. We always kind of liked each other, but nothing really came of it. I do always kind of kid him because I did ask him to my senior prom and he said no because he had to work.
Oh,
so
Abe,
I never.
Abe.
I don't know.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
That is a classic story that you can tell forever.
I never let him forget that.
No, never let him forget.
Not at all. But yeah, then we kind of lost touch for a couple years. I was at college doing my thing. He's a couple of years older than me, and so he was at college and started working, and we didn't talk as much, but we, always there in the background. Then I didn't think I mentioned this yet, but I spent a year abroad in India in 2012 when I left Penn State in December of 2011. Again, I wanted. At that time, I wasn't really competing at a high level. I was still training, but the Paralympics were over, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue training at an elite level. And I just kind of wanted to do more and see more. He is there.
Said, still got the girl. True story. Eventually.
I know. Too funny. But yeah. I spent a year abroad in India, and because I hadn't been back to India since I had been adopted, and I really wanted to do that. And I lived abroad, and I worked at a home for orphan girls, and some of them had disabilities as well. And we really didn't talk that much that entire year. But when I came back, we kind of reconnected, and there was a lot of different emotions after that, and he really became like a rock that I could like talk to, and that was like the beginning of where we are now. And we started dating in 2013, and now we've been married for 5 years.
So JB, he is the host on one of our other shows. Hey JB, he wanted to know how cool was India, because again, you hadn't been back in forever. How was it being
India
there?
Was an experience. That's the best word I could think of it. It was good. It was bad. There was so many. It's like overwhelming to the senses. Mm-hmm. I hadn't been back to India, and I thought it was going to be. I guess I was also very naive, to be honest. I wasn't sure like what to expect. And the home that I worked at was started by another single mom who adopted a girl from India. So she was a New Yorker. So she's American. Yep. And the home was very clean, very well run, had clean water and food and all like internet. So it was a good place to be. But being being Indian, being a woman with a disability, I look Indian, but I didn't speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the disability um, just, it was overwhelming. It was good. It was a eye-opening learning experience. And yeah, it was just, I wouldn't go to India for a whole year ever again, but I would definitely like go back and visit.
Right. Did you really
But
do
that was
much
hard. That
tourist?
was a
Did
hard
you do a
year.
lot of tourist stuff when you're there,
Yeah,
or were
so
you
my mom and
more?
sister came for a
Oh,
couple
okay.
weeks
Mm-hmm.
over the summer that I was there. This was 2012. Actually, I was just looking at my Facebook memories, and Facebook told me that 10 years ago, either yesterday or today, was when I left for
Oh,
my
wow.
year in
Oh,
India. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. But my mom and sister came over for a couple weeks in the summer, and we toured all over India. We got to go on a tiger safari, and we did see a tiger, so that was it's supposedly very good luck if you see a tiger.
Oh, wow.
So
nice.
we went to the Taj Mahal. We went. Where else did we go? We went all over. We also got to, because my sister was adopted from India, so we got to stay with the people that got her ready for adoption. So that was a really cool experience for
Wow.
her as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was very educational, very eye opening. I learned a lot. Again, I'm so glad I did that, but I would not live in India for a year ever again.
Did you
So
plan from the beginning to be there for the year?
I did. I did. That's where I said, that's where I was like, oh, I'm pretty naive because after a couple months, I was like, this is hard.
Yeah.
So
I know I read that you wanted to leave several times.
I did. I did. And I was actually supposed to stay. I didn't quite make it the whole year, but I made it close.
Okay.
I from January to like right before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I came home for Thanksgiving and had decided I was good.
Yeah.
I'll be home for the holidays, but no, it was good. It was a good experience. It was hard experience, but
I'm sure it was pretty emotional
it
at
was.
times,
It was.
seeing
Because there was the home I stayed in was very good, well kept, had all the
right.
amenities, but there was a lot of areas and places. The home itself was nice, but you stepped outside and there was like poverty all around. So it was a lot. And
Yeah.
if you've ever gone to India or been in places like India, it's kind of overwhelming. So on the senses, on the emotions, on everything. So
Yeah.
and here I'm very independent, drive a car, have a job. I'm free to like move around, but it's literally a whole different world over there.
How is it wheelchair accessible over there?
It's not. That was another problem, like getting around. If you ever watched anything on like the trains or the buses in India, like you wouldn't. No, there was no way I could use any of that. So
it was. I was in Russia a few years ago, and I remember thinking like this country is not wheelchair accessible at all. Like there were no ramps, there were no elevators on things. Some of those older Eastern European areas, cobblestone.
Yeah.
I didn't see anyone in a wheelchair. I didn't see anyone on crutches. I didn't see anyone with like a walker. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Even their way of thinking. I know I was saying it's sometimes a struggle here, but I don't know if they even understand the word accessibility in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just don't think they care.
Yeah.
Or it's like maybe they have so many other things to worry about, right? That it's just on the list of when you're looking at a country where you're trying to make sure people have access to clean drinking water and food and where do you put that on the list of everything?
And that's why advocacy, I think, is so important too, because you have our advocates who put those things at the top of the list for everybody who's like, oh, another day or another time, or maybe not now. And it's like, no, this is important now, that you take for granted. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just like your work, Maggie, does inspire others, because like I told you, I now think about wheelchair accessibility a lot more because of this post that you have done. And so it is, if I do see something that's not right, I am more inclined to actually A, notice it, and B, say something. I don't have a hard time telling people things. So
No, you don't. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm
it's,
glad, even if just one person, that's one person more. So yeah.
And I'll tell a friend, and they'll tell a friend, and that's really, it's
amplify
just
the message.
that's how we do it. So I do a final question for you. If you were to have a message for any younger women, or I guess we'll let the guys in on this message too, that are in, wheelchairs, that maybe are feeling like they're disabled and it's not fair or anything like that, what message would you give to them?
I would say that don't let anybody define you, only you can do that. So
Powerful message.
That was perfect.
yeah.
Have you said that before?
I've said things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little motto of mine.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and I think that applies to everyone, not just people. Well, thank you so much, Maggie, for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It was so fun to chat with you.
It was great to catch up.
Well, Penn State reunion. Let's not make it another 15 years.
I know.
Shana and I were talking about like trying to plan a trip to the DC area and go, because Brooke is there. You will be included in that.
Yeah.
So fun. So fun.
So awesome.
We have extra space. You can come on over.
Say less. Say less. I'll be there.
Just bought a condo. It's ready.
Yay! Oh, so, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll be there visiting.
I know, right? It's like, all right, Shana, you should probably go home now to your children. She's like, no.
I'm getting it's quiet here.
Get some sleep. Shana's just going to go there and just sleep for like a full weekend.
Take a nap.
Sounds good.
Like, you want to see some monuments? No.
Yeah, I'll sleep. Thanks.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Maggie. We really appreciate it. Have a great night.
Yep.
Man, I can't believe it's in 15 years.
I know. I can't. It's hard for me to like believe that. 15 years. It went by fast. I guess when you're living life fast, it goes by quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. So I am going to flip us over to a quick commercial break. And then, Shana, I am going to throw a little topic over at you.
Okay.
So we'll be right back.
All right.
Tranquility, Trey Bella. Alleviate the stress of your day. A fresh approach to nail care service at the top of the pampering scale. Awaken your senses with no chemical smells. Relax. We're at your service with professional, personalized treatments. Enjoy a manicure or pedicure tailored to you. Trey Bella Nail Spa. 10349 South Halsted in Chicago. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Trey Bella Nail Spa or book at TreyBellaNailSpa.com.
I was going to wear my Trey Bella shirt because I saw Mel over the weekend, but we had to rock the Penn State.
I'm very proud of this.
I'm proud you still have that.
And I've been doing better with actually like getting stuff and buying stuff. I'm like, I can't rely on my like practice clothes anymore.
No, it's time to be adult clothes.
Yeah.
So Shady, I know I see you over on Instagram, but you're never really on Facebook. So I figured I would spring this one on you because on our Facebook group, the She Said What She Said Facebook group, go ahead and join it, folks, if you're not on it. There was a little bit of a debate going on.
Ooh.
And I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
I believe it was in Connecticut. There was a high school basketball coach at a Catholic school who was suspended after his team beat another team. I believe it was like 92-4. Initial thoughts on if, and it spurred quite the debate on should a coach be suspended for beating up on a team like that.
I mean, okay, you know what I'm gonna say. The game is the game. I mean, you can't change the game because somebody is losing, right? Do you know what I mean? How does that apply? Let's apply it to track.
And that is something that like Shana and I, nope, you're Shana, sorry. Shana Pickett, Miss Snacks was saying, in the distance race, are you going to tell the person winning the race, don't lap the slow person 2 times?
In fact, they used to pull the slow people off the track if you were getting lapped. So I don't, listen, every game, I think, I'm not a basketball player, but I think is an opportunity for both teams to get better and both teams to play. And I don't think, you as a coach, if I were a coach, I would tell my team to stop playing or maybe not score as much because the other team was losing. The other team has the opportunity to play too. Should the game have been forfeited then? Or what was the expectation? Does the coach on the winning team just stop playing? Well,
right.
I mean, if they were going to, I feel, go the route of suspension, then the official should have been the one to call the game.
Right. And, there was a lot of comments, again, similar to what you were saying, as in, this is high school, this is not elementary school. Like, we should not have to play down to our opponents, which is, I kind of fall more toward that line as well. However, like Z was saying that he had been coaching and his league actually did have slaughter rules. So if you were up by 24 points or more, you had to like take your starters off. You couldn't shoot threes and you couldn't play press defense or man defense. Now, which I think is, if you have the rule and you don't follow the rule, then yeah, as a coach. But yeah, I was reading it. It did say that I think they did keep playing press defense, which maybe let the other team get the ball over the half court before you start doing things. It said 12 different people scored. I would hope that the coach took the starters out early enough and let the second and third, let the bench people go in. Because like, look, and they were like ranked like the second or third best team in the state, so let your bench people get some time. But what are you going to don't score, don't play defense? And I wonder
if the suspension, did it come from, like, was there another component to it? Like, what were they being obnoxious, or were they being arrogant, or was there like poor sportsmanship that he was encouraging, or were they just playing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure, and I want to get more. One of the people that was for him getting suspended was my sister. So she coaches middle school. She coaches the boys soccer team, and her team is by far the best in Aurora, Colorado. So she has her own rules for the kids that if they're up however many goals, she starts to give them things like, you are not allowed to score more than 2 goals. You have to pass the ball X number of times before you shoot. The star player will play goalie. The goalie will play forward. So she mixes things up a bit. But that's just her. That's her personal thing. So she uses it as an opportunity to work on, like, we're going to focus on corner kicks. We're going to focus on this. You're going to have to practice. It's also middle school though. So, and soccer, you have a lot more players because you have offensive players, defense, the goalie. Basketball, there's only 5. The court's only so big. You can't. It's not like you can tell you don't have like people that always score and give us somebody else a chance. So
I don't know. I mean, sportsmanship, obviously, for me, was very, very big. But at the same time, it's hard. It would be hard. Nobody likes to lose. It doesn't feel good, but people lose. Everyone loses. Everyone has lost before. And yeah, I don't think I wonder what the other components to that were, because it would be very hard for me to tell kids that I was coaching to simply not play anymore. Don't try as hard.
Yeah.
You know? Or that, there's nothing more to work on. We're winning. And so there's nothing more we can do. So just let them.
Yeah, it's I definitely see it doesn't necessarily look good. But at the same time, if your team is getting beat that bad, would you rather them just keep scoring on you, or would you rather them just pass the ball around for 20 minutes where you know that they're kind of just doing it because you are so bad that you can't like steal it, or it's like, is it more taunting if they dumb it down for you?
Maybe they should have suspended the other coach though.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Like, you only scored 4 points, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And it's, in high school athletics, you have a huge difference. It's not like college, right? It's the other team. I think it was Catholic League. So the other school might've only found like 7 girls total that wanted to play basketball. So they're all on the varsity.
I went to school in New York, and I went to a Catholic school, and we almost, even at States, we had like we were in a different, like almost league than the public school kids. Like we just almost had even though we were both at States, sometimes we were in the same races together, but they would rank us in the final. We would be ranked differently.
Oh, weird.
Because I don't know why. That's how they did in New York, but.
It's kind of, we think about like Penn relays, like everyone run the prelims, but then it would like feed into different finals. So people,
right.
Penn relays is like one of the biggest track meets in collegiate athletics. We would obviously go there because we were 2.5 hours away. But how it works there is your relays, what everyone would run the preliminary rounds, the top, was it 9-10 teams would go into the Championship of America heats. And then if they were within the ECAC conference, there was an ECAC final. There was like Ivy League final.
A lot of different, even in high school. Did you compete there in high school?
No, I didn't.
In high school, there's even more delineation in high school because they separated small schools, large schools. I mean, it's just lots of different groups, I guess. But
yeah, and I think it's oh, hold on. I see John. So is the story the 92 points, or is it really the 4? The other coach could have said at any point, you've had enough. If you're going to continue to play, then there's a possible outcome.
I agree.
That's true.
I agree.
And I think, John, the focus is on the 92 points. But like you're saying, the other coach was to stop the other coach from throwing in the towel.
Or the refs, or league officials,
Right. Which I think that league, like Z was saying, his league had slaughter rules. Okay, this league obviously needs to put in some rules into place. When do you call a game? What are going to be your rules at an XYZ time?
Right.
Because if there's no rules, what do you do? What do you do as a coach? It's just like, I can't. I don't see it, maybe it is the track runners in us where you can't tell us not to run fast.
Right. One of the other things that I think about too, when I see games where there's a huge, it's very clear that one team is going to win, another team is going to lose, and the differential in the points is very large. On the team, in this case, it would be the team with the 4 points. I wonder, what is the coach saying? What do you say to your athletes right now? What are you saying to your kids right now? I always wonder about that. I guess that's good coach. That would be like, what they say in that moment would be the difference between a good coach and a bad coach. But I think about that a lot too.
Yes, and I agree, right? Because there are bad coaches out there. There are people that don't know what they're doing, that just are crappy coaches. They're going off old techniques. And then there's coaches that are good coaches, but they just aren't at a school that has the athletes for them.
Yeah.
They're doing the best with what they have, and what they have from a talent standpoint isn't that good, so it is, again, like, but then you also have lazy coaches, crappy coaches.
Yeah.
Oh, and
just because you know a lot about this, like with anything, just knowing a lot about a sport doesn't make you a good coach. The same way being a professional athlete at some point in time doesn't make you a good coach.
No. I mean, like, Snacks is a coach. Because my girlfriend's she's going to be coming on the podcast, but I don't know if you've actually met her. She ran at Illinois.
I don't
Shana
think so.
Pickett. She would have been on like their 4x1. She was a year older than me.
Okay.
So she has quite the pedigree from the collegiate thing, but as a coach, I mean, she's gotten all these certifications. She goes to, it's not just like, oh, I ran fast. This is what I'm doing now. You're going to do the exact same thing that I did. No. That's not how this works. And that's why a lot of great athletes don't become coaches.
Exactly.
Like Shane, would you know where to start?
I would never know. Where to start. No. And you have to be honest about it, right? And put in the work. A lot of the great coaches that I know have years, decades in it, and they eat, sleep, and breathe track, or whatever sport it is, that they do.
Yeah. My buddy Z, he's also a track coach. He was saying, there was that Venezuelan woman that broke the world triple jump record last year. He's actually going down to their camp later this year to learn some.
Oh, wow.
And that is because, her training partner is that woman, I believe, from Portugal, that was like, the silver or bronze medalist. And so, he doesn't just want to get better himself. He wants to go and he wants to learn from the best. So there's definitely a big difference between the top coaches and the meh, so high school has so many different talent levels and so many different coach levels.
That's true.
So, but I do think as a track runner, it's like, okay, Shana, just go beat them, but only run a 58 in the 400.
No.
You don't want that time associated next to your name. People are going to be like, is she injured? Like, what happened? You don't.
Yeah. Especially with an individual sport. Every time you compete, when the clock starts, it's an opportunity to get better. Even if you only scored 4 points, it's an opportunity to get better.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it works from the team. I didn't play a team sport in high school. Obviously, I didn't do a team sport in college besides handing the baton off. But so I don't know how that mindset is. But I would say one thing, we were talking about the sportsmanship and the winning by super large margins. So in high school, I want to say maybe my junior year, my school joined a conference. And so in the conference, you had to play games against other teams in your conference, which also means you need to have dual track meets against these other teams in your conference. I went to my track team when I was there. We were one of the top 10 track teams in the country. Okay. We would travel to invitationals, like, we would go to Ohio, for invitational in high school. Like, what are we going to do at a dual meet?
Right. So I'm just racing just this school here.
Yeah. So it was like, if you did the dual meet, like, it was just a practice. Like, the relays, he would put like 4 different relay entries and have the A team all run like the lead, something like that. But there was one year, the coach at some other school, I guess he thought that their cross country team was like, they were decent. I think they like placed in the top, 5 or something in the state. The coach got pissed that my coach put the JV team against them for their dual meet because he wasn't going to run the varsity twice in a week, right? They had invitational. So he complained to the conference. So track season rolls around. My coach, being the petty man that he was, and this is why I loved him so much, he said, fine, you want to run against my varsity? You're running against my varsity. So we went full, I think we won like maybe like 120 something to like 20.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was like, okay, fine, you want to go against my varsity?
Well, that's what he wanted though.
That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted. And that was one of my favorite
Oh my
memories.
gosh, yeah. High school track is a different, oh man, it's a whole different world. It really is.
And there's
especially traveling for meets and stuff like that. I mean, we both came from cold weather places. So I remember running at outdoor track meets in the snow. Like it would be snowing and we were running. And I was like always waiting for my coach to call it. Like, we're not really going to compete, are we? And we did.
Yeah, like this isn't actually a thing, right? We're going home.
We did.
We're going home.
We did.
We're not going home.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
it was well, yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on that one because again, that was
I love those kinds of questions because I'm like one of those people that always has an opinion, and a lot of times my opinion is not traditional, but for sure in that situation, what are you suspending that coach for? Suspending the wrong guy. Potentially.
Well, so we are, Shana, with the end, we do our shout outs. So the floor is yours. Please give me, who do you want to shout out to today?
Oh my gosh, my family, because I know they're watching. Love them to death. My husband, who is, I think, listening in the other room and wrangling my kids, who decided to have a party in the middle of the night. But yeah, Penn State track and field. I was blessed to be a part of it, and met some awesome people. So yeah, that's it. What about you?
Well, I got a shout out to AB for jumping in here and fixing this StreamYard. So I was doing it myself today, and I put the background banner as in the front, and I couldn't figure out it's like 15 minutes before. I was like, oh, what's going on? So Terrence is at the Bulls game, so I did the emergency phone call to AB, and he jumped in here, and he was like, Cher, I see exactly what you did here. So shout out to AB, because without you, I don't know why we would have had
we would be looking at a banner right now.
Yeah, it'd be an audio only version. And but yeah, really shout out to my my network. We had a great brunch, and we got a little apparel, and we're really looking forward to growing the Chicago Clubhouse networks, different podcasts. I know, Shana, you're not a Chicagoan, but it's fine. You might as well be.
I have a trip up my sleeve.
Yes. And, really, shout out to Penn State track and field. It was an adventure, but as you guys can see, it was a family, and you guys are my family for life. So, really on that note, thanks everyone for tuning in. And like I said, be sure to check out our Facebook group. You can weigh in on how you feel about that 92-4. That thread will be, keep on going.
I've got to talk to some people about this too.
Right? Yeah. And the thing is, I've been reading a lot of opinions, and I flip-flop both ways. I'm, that's a great point. That's great. Oh, that's a great point. Or, oh, you're full of shit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I still love you as a person. There's just so much to it. And also check out the Instagram. Like I said, there's not a lot going on there right now, but we will be. Be working with D-Sun to help me leverage some of the social media stuff. So, and thank you, Shana, for jumping in.
It was great. Thanks for having me. It was my pleasure.
You'll be back, right?
I will, 100%.
Yes. So awesome. Well, that ends our show, guys, and thank you for tuning in.